right place. If you are wondering, what do I need to do to wash my produce during the coronavirus pandemic, I'm going to share with you 3 different ways that you can wash produce, some of the reasons you might want to use one versus the other, my favorite way to wash produce, and a bonus tip on something you can use really safely as well. Let's dive in. My name's Amy. I'm a mom and natural food chef. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to keep your produce safe during this COVID-19 pandemic that I'm currently recording in the middle of. And first and foremost, I want to give you the disclaimer that while I'm not a doctor or scientist or any of those things, so that's my first disclaimer. The second one is that this is a rapidly changing situation. So even since I posted about this over a couple weeks ago, the information that we're being given around how to stay safe and how to keep our food safe during this pandemic has changed. And so it's really important to get the latest and greatest information from reliable sources. All that said, I have been taking a look at the reliable sources as of today, April 19th, 2020, and I'm sharing with you what I've learned so that you can have a little bit of peace of mind if you're feeling confused, and then I'll share some links down below so that you can do your own research if you're looking for the latest and greatest from the powers that be. So there are 3 ways that you can safely wash your produce. The first one that was being recommended at the beginning of the pandemic is to use dish soap. I have Puracy natural dish soap here. I love it for whatever it's worth. And the thing to know about dish soap, and the reason that it was being touted, soap and water were being touted as being the safest for produce during the coronavirus pandemic, is if you were concerned that someone with the disease had, say, like sneezed on a piece of fruit, and so now there's like particles on there, that the soap and water would help to break down the lipid barrier on that piece of produce so that you would know that all the germs had gone away, you'd rinse them off, and then you could safely eat the produce that you had bought. This is where the information is rapidly changing. As of about last week, maybe a little bit the week before, I started seeing people come out and say that actually isn't the safest way to wash your produce. And the reason for that is that most dish soap isn't safe for human consumption. So if you're leaving residue of dish soap on your produce, or say like bleach on the packages of food that you're cleaning, and that gets into the food, it could actually be more or equally dangerous to having germs on it. The other piece of the puzzle is that the latest information that we're seeing is that it would be very unlikely that someone with the disease sneezed directly onto your produce, and then you got it in the amount of time that it stayed alive for, which we don't know exactly what that is, and then you took it home and it got mixed with your produce, and now you have contracted COVID-19. So because the risk of contracting the virus from food is said to be very low, I am seeing some change in the soap and water recommendation on washing your produce. If you've been doing it, you're probably fine, but it's not what I'm doing any longer for that reason. The second way of washing produce is with vinegar and water. So when I do this, I like to do it in a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 parts water to 1 part vinegar. This is I don't know how much water this is, but let's pretend it's 3 cups. I would put 1 cup of vinegar in here, and then I would put my produce in and let it soak for about 10 minutes. That process, according to some research done by Cooks Illustrated about 12 years back, kills 98% of bacteria. Now, part of the reason this wasn't the original recommendation with COVID-19, and is just some food for thought, is that if you are really worried that it has been contaminated, it may not be enough to break down that lipid barrier. If you, like me, are maybe not as worried about having been contaminated because that risk is very low, then this can be a really excellent option. And just to recap, it's 3-to-1, 3 parts water to 1 part vinegar. You let your produce soak for 10 minutes in that solution, and then you remove it, rinse it off, and put it away. Finally is just good old water. And a scrub brush. And studies by that same Cooks Illustrated study tell us that using water and a scrub brush actually removes 85% of bacteria. That's pretty good. And like the friction can actually help remove some of it as well. So that is another option for you. If you're just using what you have on hand, you probably have a clean scrub brush. Use a clean scrub brush, clean one, by the way. And you probably have some water. You hopefully have some water. And so you can clean your produce that way as well. So what am I doing personally at home? I personally am sticking with my original vinegar and water solution. And the reason for that is this: because I believe there's a low risk of the virus being on the food that I bought at the store, I feel pretty darn comfortable with this 98%. I might, if I'm going to eat the peel, I might even like give it a little scrub. So I'm gonna put some vinegar in here so I can show you how to do this. You put the vinegar in. I'm obviously eyeballing it, but you can measure it: 3 cups of water, 1 cup of vinegar. Put your produce in and let it sit for 10 minutes. And while this apple is sitting, I want to talk to you about the importance of washing lots of different types of produce. So I often have people be like, oh, but I'm not going to eat the peel of that orange or that pineapple, so I'm not going to wash it. Food safety basics, especially in a professional kitchen, tell us that it's actually really important to wash the skin of things like watermelons, pineapples, cantaloupes, even oranges, because when I go to cut into this, I'm taking the bacteria from the outside and pushing it inside. So whether there's coronavirus on this or not, there is bacteria from the growing and the shipping and all of the different places. And so I like to soak produce like this as well, if it doesn't overflow, give that 10 minutes, and then cut into it and remove the peel. So just one more thing about the water. As recently as 2018, the FDA was saying that water was sufficient to clean produce. I know that that was a very different situation than our current coronavirus one, but I think maybe you'd feel better if you know that you don't need any fancy produce wash or maybe even vinegar to get a safe wash on your produce. Water, especially if you use water with a scrub brush and get that 85% of the way, can be a really good option. Seriously, it's so important that you eat fresh fruits and vegetables and get lots of nutrients right now. Eat them. Don't be too afraid to eat them. And I hope that this information is empowering you to feel good about doing that safely. So finally, as my bonus tip I want to share with you, if you have fruit or vegetable wash, you can obviously use that, but a lot of us don't have that on hand. I use Branch Basics as my main cleaner in my house. It's comes in a concentrate, and then it gets put into different spray bottles in different concentrations. The cool thing about Branch Basics is they have a whole entire guide on their website of different ways that you can use their product. And while we are hearing that maybe like dish soap isn't the safest thing to use on your produce, Branch Basics does say in their materials that you can use their product as a fruit and veggie wash. So to do that, you would fill up your sink and you would put 1 tablespoon of the concentrate into the sink and then let everything sit for about 10 minutes, just like you're doing with the vinegar. Give it a good rinse and then put it away. So more and more grocery day now looks like what I always thought it would look like, which is that I'm prepping everything ahead of time and then putting it away, with the exception of gentle greens and lettuce, which I wash right as I'm about to use them, and of course berries, which also get kind of waterlogged. So anything that can be washed ahead of time gets washed right away so that I can rinse it off and put it away. I hope that this was helpful today. If so, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment below if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm coming out with new videos to help you feed your family healthy food more often without spending more time and more money doing it. I look forward to seeing you again later this week.